The coaster that breaks every height and speed barrier is here. Top Thrill Dragster. It's the fastest at 0 to 120 miles per hour in 4 seconds. It's the tallest at 420 feet. The first and only strata coaster on Earth is now open. Cedar Point's 16th coaster, Top Thrill Dragster. Want to go? Got the guts? Cedar Point, absolutely amazing.
I was only 10 years old back in 2003. However, I remember on one summer evening, sitting there in the living room and watching a TV programme about some of the biggest and best roller coasters anywhere in the world. And there were some amazing rides featured in that documentary. However, there was one ride that really stood out to me, one that really made me want to just get up off the sofa, go to the airport and fly out there to go and ride it. And that was Top Thrill Dragster. However, I didn't get to experience it until 2018 when I made my trip out to Ohio in the USA for the first time and went to visit Cedar Point and experience everything that amazing amusement park had to offer, and of course ride on the second tallest coaster anywhere in the world, Top Thrill Dragster. 420 foot tall Intamin strata coaster that featured a 120 mile an hour launch in 4 seconds. And just going to see that ride and of course experiencing it was a big thing for me. It was very emotional. It brought back a lot of memories of, you know, sitting in the living room watching these theme park documentaries that seem to be on TV all the time, and they're really not now. Luckily there's YouTube for that sort of thing, but back then they were on like Sky all the time, and I was watching them and thinking I want to go out there and ride that. So riding it was a big thing, and if you look at the vlogs back from 2018, I loved that coaster, I loved the park, and of course experiencing it all for the first time was amazing. I had countless rides on Top Thrill Dragster across my 5-day trip. I loved it that much, I went back the year after in 2019, and along with that had more rides on it. I'd also planned to go back in 2020, the year after, and take Charlotte. In fact, our trip was already booked. However, we all know what happened back in 2020, the pandemic, and yeah, that meant that our trip was cancelled. We were then looking at rescheduling for last year, 2021. However, the borders were still closed, and also something happened on Top Thrill Dragster. Now, unfortunately, a small piece of metal did actually come off the train. It became detached and actually hit somebody in the queue line. An awful incident that really should never have happened. And since that day, Top Thrill Dragster has not operated and has been closed to the public. So yeah, you know, it's been a kind of timeline of events with Top Thrill Dragster that leads us to this point, and an announcement that was made just a couple of days ago by the park that I am going to read out now for you all. So yes, we have an important update to share regarding our Top Thrill Dragster roller coaster. After 19 seasons in operation, with 18 million riders experiencing the world's first strata coaster, Top Thrill Dragster, as you know it, is being retired. However, Cedar Point's legacy of ride innovation continues. Our team is hard at work, creating a new and reimagined ride experience. We'll share more details and information at a later date. So there we go, that's the update from the park, and I'll talk more about what exactly that means in just a moment. I just firstly want to talk more about the coaster itself, because for those of you that haven't been out there and experienced it or don't really know much about it, just wanted to give you some information. So Top Thrill Dragster, like I say, it opened back in 2003 as the tallest and fastest roller coaster anywhere in the world. 420 foot tall, 0 to 120 miles an hour, hydraulic launch in 4 seconds. And what really made this Intamin coaster special was the fact that the trains also featured just a small lap bar. No big bulky over the shoulder restraints, which is quite crazy really, how rides that came after it, such as Stealth at Thorpe Park, Rita at Alton Towers, you know, Intamin hydraulic coasters with the over the shoulder restraints. It's bizarre, it makes no sense to me when rides before that, of course, open with the lap bars. But yeah, this coaster was absolutely phenomenal. I'll never forget riding it on the front row. In fact, here's a photo of me and Brett experiencing that ride on our trip in 2019. It was a special moment. I'm lucky to have been on it maybe about 25 times. I've been trying to work out how many times I've done it, but yeah, about 25, which I am really grateful for, because obviously we know that in its current form it is being retired. Now, of course, the incident happened on there, which is very sad and should never have happened, and our thoughts with everyone that was affected by that. However, there was no evidence that the park acted illegally or had reason to believe the ride was unsafe. That was confirmed in a state investigation that took place last year. Now, Obviously, this leads us to a point where, Cedar Point have said that something's going to be happening to it. It's not going to be the same experience, but they are doing something. So we know they're not going to be just tearing this ride down. They know how big of a draw it is to that park. In fact, we were planning a trip to Cedar Point for this year, 2022, but we postponed it to next year because it would have been Charlotte's first time going, and I really wanted her to see Dragster and get on it. Obviously, we now know it's not going to be the same experience and probably not ready for next year either. But yeah, now we've got an idea, we've got an update on that, so we can continue to plan for a trip probably for next year for Cedar Point. But at least we now have an update. I just didn't want to kind of book a trip for this year and then it opens straight away next season, and I'd rather have pushed it back because of this. It's a massive draw for the park. Obviously, Steel Vengeance, my #1 coaster, is there. However, Dragster is definitely in second place, and it's 100% a brilliant coaster. So yeah, I didn't want to just miss that. But I am really grateful to have experienced that ride, had memories of it, and yeah, especially after watching that documentary on TV as a kid in 2003, I'd always wanted to go and ride it. So I'm so happy that I did one day get to go and ride it, and I'll always be grateful of that. And I've got a lovely t-shirt from it as well. Honestly, what a special ride Top Thrill Dragster really is. But so the incident happened in August 2021. 1 year later, we've had this announcement from the park. And what exactly does that mean? Because it seems very kind of, you look into it, a bit of a cryptic message. So I thought I'm going to kind of break down what they could be doing. Because like I say, they've not just said it's been retired and that's it. They've said that there's going to be a new reimagined ride experience. So I'm going to go through a few different options that could happen. Obviously, this isn't any confirmation or anything like that. This is just me kind of speculating on what realistically they could do to this. Now, the first thing that comes into mind when they say reimagined is a complete redo of the ride experience. Now, of course, hydraulic launches are on the way out, and I think we're going to see a lot of hydraulic launch coasters probably close in the next 5 to 10 years because of that technology really moving away now. The likes of Rito and Stealth here in the UK, they're also hydraulic launches. King Dakar, Formula Rossa, that style of coaster, we're moving away from that now, and LSM technology is a big thing. And then I turn to Red Force, which is located in Ferrari Land at Portaventura in Spain, a ride that we've done many times now and is a fantastic coaster. Now, this is also not an Intamin Strata coaster because obviously it's not over 400. This is about 360. Technically, it's a Giga coaster. However, it does follow that Strata coaster layout with a huge top hat, and it does feature an LSM launch. Now, with this, could we possibly see them reimagine Dragster with LSM technology, updated trains, possibly even redoing the track, which would maybe be needed for this, but possibly keeping the structure. Now, you imagine they keep the actual steel framework structure, but take the track off, and effectively it would be a new coaster, just being retrofitted onto that. However, you then got to think about LSMs haven't got quite the same power as a hydraulic launch. Would they need to make the launch track longer? I mean, tech is always improving, but would they need to make that launch track longer, which means you're kind of bringing it more down into the midway. The whole station would have to be redone. You're effectively building a new ride, but they could probably get away with keeping the actual structure itself. So, that's an option. Obviously, then they could do a reimagined queue line, possibly a re-theme. It would cost a huge amount of money. However, it would future-proof that ride with LSM technology. So, yeah, that is certainly an option. And out of all these options I'm going to talk about, that is the one that I really hope they go for, in my opinion. How realistic it is, it could be done, it could cost a lot of money, and it would basically be a new ride, and it wouldn't be the same experience, but we know it's not going to be because they're saying this will be reimagined, a new experience. That ride as we knew it has been retired, so that would all tie in with an LSM kind of upgrade, basically a new build being retrofitted onto the structure. That's what I think may happen, or I'd like to see happen. Along with that, you've got another option, which is keep the iconic structure itself, however, actually build a brand new coaster, kind of utilising that and not kind of follow the route of Dragster. You could do the top hat, but then maybe do some other elements as well, such as a big helix or kind of stall or anything like that. So yeah, there's that sort of option. Or completely change it and not have it as a coaster and add drop towers onto there as well, such as Zumanjaro, for example. That could be done, and add a drop tower or 3 drop towers on the actual structure, because you've got to think it's not just about the ride experience, it's the look of it on the skyline at Cedar Point. I know they're still lighting it up at night, for example, because it's a big structure. So yeah, that's an interesting one that could be done. And then, of course, the one that I think is the most unlikely is a complete removal. And based on the statement, I don't think that's going to happen unless anything changes in the meantime. I genuinely think we're going to see them do some kind of retrofit to it and yeah, make a new ride experience out of it. That's what I hope so anyway, because there's so many people out there that never got to ride it, and I know it won't be the same with it not being a hydraulic launch. However, just to at least have that back in some capacity will be fantastic. LSM technology is always improving. Red Force is a fantastic ride, so who knows? But yeah, that's all we know so far. The park have said, you know, stay tuned for information in the future. This isn't going to be a 2023 opener, of course, no, whatever they're doing. We've already got plans for next year that they've announced with the boardwalk area and the new spinning coaster. This is going to be most likely for 2024, but still, let's see what happens. There'll be updates in the future. Top Thrill Dragster, we know it's been retired, but let's hope it lives on in a new way in the future as well. But so much to think about, so much money could be spent on this, and you've got to think, are the park going to want to spend that amount of money on it? You know, it's an older ride, they may as well do a full new experience for that. So let's see what happens. But there we go. Thanks for joining me for the second big news update of the day. Yeah, lots going on at the moment in the theme park industry, which is very exciting, and lots going on with Theme Park Worldwide as well. We've got our own big announcement coming up tomorrow in a live stream, so stay tuned for that. That leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding.